Hi, and welcome to Screens and Focus, the podcast where we talk about TV and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about The Bear Season 3. Renee is here to join me. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello, I'm very good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to talk about The Bear. It's the third season. So I want to start out with the question of the day. And since it pertains to food and dining experiences, I wanted to ask you, have you ever had a terrible dining experience?
Well, I think we probably all have at one time or another, and I know there's probably specific ones that I have, but I couldn't recall them. But I guess as a person who's waitressed on and off for years,
Oh,
and I love to waitress. I know it's a sickness or something, I don't know, but I love waitressing. It's a lot of fun. So I tend to be a little more forgiving, I think, than a lot of people because I know how it feels to be in the weeds and you've got, 10 tables and you're trying to get
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
So I can be a little more forgiving, but, because we are all human and we make mistakes. But there are certain things that, like not getting refills or, just things like that that really they happen pretty often, and it's those are the kind of things that kind of ticks down their you always kind of think, okay, that ticks down their tip a little or whatever, which usually I don't because I know that that's part of their
Yeah.
mood. So I guess I can't think of like a very specific one, but I know we've had some terrible experiences. But like I said, I think maybe for me I'm a little more forgiving than others.
Well, I'm wondering now that you said you love waitressing, if you've ever had a terrible patron.
Oh, yes, lots of them. It's just I'm good at reading the table. You come up to the table and you kind of feel like, is this going to be a fun table where we can, go back and forth or kind of thing, or are these
Yeah.
people here to eat and leave? So you kind of read your table. But then there's just sometimes where it doesn't matter what you do, they are just horrible and they'll not tip well. And they'll, it could be the kitchen's mistake or the bar's mistake, but
Right.
they're going to deduct my tip from that. So I've had
Yeah.
people that have done
Yeah.
that. And I've had people on the other side too that I've had people who they love the service, they'll tip 50%. I mean, I've like, you about follow up, but
Wow.
yeah, they not like, Twitter worthy or anything like that, that you see a lot of these
Yeah.
$1,000, whatever. But I've had, the other side of that too. But yeah, there
Yeah.
have been a lot of really bad people that are just, they're just, I guess they're just not happy individuals. And so they
Right.
take it out on anybody.
Yeah. Darn people.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about this question, yeah, like you said, there are times when you don't have the best service. You have to wait a really long time. You never see your waiter or waitress again. They're like gone. The food comes out cold, burnt,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. But the one thing that came to mind, it was many, 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 many years ago. And I think it was during work, like we all went to lunch as a group, and we went to this place that had changed hands and such. And so I don't know, I think it was close by. So we decided to go in. We went in, everybody ordered. I don't recall if it was an Asian restaurant, but I don't think the name on the outside
Mhm.
referenced that, which is already a bad sign, right? If you don't reference it in the title of your restaurant, but then that's what's sort of on the menu. I don't know. I didn't know any better at the time. So I ordered something that had shrimp in it. And I remember when I got it and I took a bite and it was crunchy, like I don't know if it was the shell or if and multiple times or if it was ice, like it
Mhm.
wasn't defrosted. It was horrible. And I said, I have to send this back. This is like horrible. And
Mhm.
I remember one of the people at my table was like, they were mortified that I was going to send it back. But I thought, no, this is like inedible. I cannot
Mhm.
eat this. It is horrible. So I had to send it back. And I don't remember if I got a replacement or what I did, but I just remember I am never coming back to this place because it was bad.
Yeah, that's
Never back.
awful.
Yeah, and it changed hands. And I know that there are so many more stories out there and such better stories. So, friends out there, if you have a bad dining experience, we would love to know. You can comment here if you're on YouTube or on any of our social media. And if you just really have to tell us, through your voice. We would love it if you would call us and leave us a
Mhm.
voicemail. And our phone number is 669 223 8542. And that number is in our show notes. So we would love to know what your worst dining experience is. All right. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the news, which of course is going to be the Emmys. I want to give a little bit of a conversation to that. And then we'll talk about The Bear season 3. And then hopefully we'll get to our TV and movie recommendations. If it's getting too long here, I might have to put it into a separate episode, but that is the format. And I will have timestamps in our show notes if you want to just jump to one or the other. So just letting everybody know what we're doing here. So the Emmys came out. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this was because The Bear had a record amount of nominations at 23. 23, although I think it's kind of worth it. I mean, it's well deserved is what I mean to say, because so many of the acting categories, writing, the whole series together, all the people that do their cameos are just so great. So I'm
Mhm.
not surprised that it has this many nominations. Were there any nominations that surprised you or?
They didn't really surprise. I mean, like I guess the Bears amount that was, that was
Yeah.
shocking because that broke a long-standing record held by 30 Rock, which because we all know
Yeah.
they've put the bear in the comedy, which again
Yes.
doesn't make a whole lot of
Yes.
sense to most people, but
Right.
whatever, it's there and they got their nominations, which deserved nominations. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess most of them weren't. To me, they weren't a lot of because there's just been so much good content, so it's
Yeah.
like, very deserving of the ones that have gotten the nominations.
Well, and not just surprised, but
Mhm.
were you thrilled by any?
Well, Fallout, I thought that was really, of course, I really enjoyed that series, and the bear, of course, So I thought those were very deserving. To me, they were just really good ones that
Yeah,
deserved a lot of the recognition that they got.
I love those too. Yeah, and also Walton Goggins himself
Hmm.
received a nomination, so that
Yeah.
was really exciting. So I think the ones that came to mind that I saw and that I was happy about, one is Only Murders in the Building, because I love that series and everybody was nominated from there, so I thought that that was great, including Meryl Streep, who was a guest in the latest season,
Hmm.
and I thought she was so phenomenal. I remember when I watched it, I thought, this is why she's so good, because I saw how good she was in this.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you see her in a film and she's so immersed into the character that you don't notice that she is. Like you
Hmm.
just take it for granted in a way. But I felt like in Only Murders in the Building, I saw her brilliance again. I thought she is so good at this. So I just really enjoyed or was really happy that she was nominated
Hmm.
and that television series was. But I also wanted to bring up Lily Gladstone and Kaylee Reese because they're making history
Hmm.
with their nominations, because they are the first Native American women to receive
Hmm.
Emmy acting nominations. And I loved both of the things that they were in. So
Hmm.
Lily Gladstone was in Under the Bridge, which we
Yeah.
both watched. And then also Kaylee Reese was in True Detective season 4, that I loved that. I loved all the seasons, but I was really excited. I loved the season. I love Jodie Foster. She is also nominated, so I was really happy for her. So I'm really loving those nominations. Also because there was a lot of pushback on season 4.
Hmm.
And so I was happy to see that it was recognized even with that. Also, some of the ones that I enjoyed was Palm Royale, which
Yeah.
you watched
Yes.
that too,
Yeah,
right?
we like
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
And also The Morning Show.
Oh,
So I
love
love both of those. And
it.
so the fact that all those people were nominated, loving it too. So that was really happy about that. And Carol Burnett is the oldest, plus one, she's iconic.
Yeah. It's
She's
Carol Burnett. It's just, yeah.
she's in a league of her own,
Hmm.
right?
For sure.
And so and she's the one of the oldest
Mhm.
actresses ever to be nominated. And I believe I read Dick Van Dyke is the oldest actor to
Yeah,
ever be
I think so.
nominated, because
Yeah.
he's in his 90s also. So, and such a cool one is Ryan Gosling for SNL. Duh. He's so good in everything, but the fact that it's SNL and
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
whole Beavis and Butthead, and just all of that. It's
I
just
know. It's yeah, so
it's
funny.
good. Yeah, it's so funny. So there was a lot
Mhm.
to celebrate, and I can't wait to see who wins. And I love all the people that were nominated, and I'm sure there are people that were snubbed
Mhm.
also,
Yeah,
but not
always.
everybody can be in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I think Idris Elba was nominated for
Yeah,
Hijack, and I really liked
that was a good
that
series,
show
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
And I know a lot of people watched Danny Glover in, I didn't watch it, but
Mhm.
I heard a lot of people did like Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Yeah, I didn't see
and
that.
also Reservation Dogs. That
Mhm.
show was nominated also, and
Mm.
people really enjoyed, um, it was what the first time, I think it's the last season, so it was
Mhm.
really good that that was nominated.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see who wins when that comes out, and so I'm excited about that. But we are gonna get to our main TV series here that we love, and that's The Bear season 3. So it is back with a fresh twist while, holding on to that signature brilliance that they have. So the season dives deeper into the character developments, and we see grief and consequences with, Carmi dealing
Mhm.
with all of that while he's trying to open this restaurant and the pressures that that brings about. And we see a lot of cameos that I just love in this series. And, it just adds so many more layers to
Mhm.
all these characters that we see. So, and there are comparisons. Maybe people aren't liking the season as much as the other two.
Mhm.
So, Renee, I would love to know your take on it and
Mhm.
what you thought about it overall.
Well, I'm in that camp. I was especially first season or the first episodes, I just thought they were so tedious, and I just was like, what are they doing? They To me, it was like they kind of tried to become an artsy kind of series, which it's never been before. It's one thing if it starts out that way, you're expecting
Yeah.
that, but it was like, what are they doing here? And it was almost like some of the repetitive things just was like, okay, what are we doing with this? It was just repetitive. I don't know what the purpose of it was. So
Mm.
it's not like I hate it. Like my husband says, a bad episode of The Bear is still a good episode, because you got great
Yeah.
actors, you got a great story, but it was just very strange to me. And then as the season progressed, I did start to like it better. And the finale, I thought was wonderful. I thought they did it. I think the cliffhanger was kind of unnecessary, but that's my opinion because it's not
Yeah.
review. I don't see why they kind of
Mhm.
held that back. I mean, Sydney and all her stuff, I get, but anyway, as I watched the first couple episodes, I kept thinking, I don't know if I can finish this. I really was that, yeah,
Ah,
it was that much. And so we kept pushing
affected by
through.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. And then it did get better, and I didn't mostly enjoy it. So
yeah,
overall, I did, but I did have quite a few issues with it, especially starting out.
yeah. I can see that. I don't think I felt it as much as you did.
Mhm.
I was okay with it. When I the first one, I was a little bit confused
Mhm.
because it was bouncing around a lot. I was a little bit confused about the timeline.
Yeah.
And so, but I figured, oh, this is going back in time. This is
Hmm.
talking about his past. This is how he prepped for the person that he is. Now, I think it's important to know that, to
Hmm.
know where he is now, because they're showing you all the training that he went through and who he studied with, and just how detailed and the
Hmm.
passion that you have to do this, to be a chef
Hmm.
and to be successful. And so, and I think a lot of the repetitiveness was to show you how ingrained these people are. I was thinking there is no way in heck that I could ever be a chef. I love to cook.
Hmm.
I love to cook. I cook all the time for my family. I really do enjoy it, but I am not a perfectionist. All I care is that it tastes good.
Yeah.
But to see these people, or to see Carmi, just, we'll get a little more into it,
Hmm.
but just the precision that he had and the detail that he had in this, I did appreciate all of those. And like I said, I love all the cameos. There wasn't quite as many as there was
Hmm.
before. I think there was probably more chefs in this one,
Hmm.
but I still really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
I loved the character development. I know we're going to get to our favorite moments and all that, but there of course is a favorite episode and what that entailed. I just really liked seeing just the whole culinary experience
Hmm.
given to us through this way. And not like you're watching a reality show with that. You're watching I take it as real. It
Mhm.
feels real. And it also is comedic and hilarious at times because sometimes it makes me smile,
Mhm.
not like ha ha funny, but I know these are actors portraying
Mhm.
this, but sometimes how they get under each other's skin and the way that they yell at each other, it can be really stressful. But you know that it's just a show here. And so it kind of makes me laugh underneath all of that. But yeah, I can't imagine being a chef. So that was something, a realization for me in watching this. I'm like, I don't know how people do it. And it gave me an appreciation for the people that do have restaurants and the people that have successful
Mhm.
restaurants and the people that the chefs that do have Michelin stars. Now I'm just so much more amazed and in awe of
Mhm.
those people. I mean, I watch Top Chef and all
Mhm.
those shows, but they don't show behind the scenes like
Mhm.
this does. So I felt like I learned a lot
Mhm.
in this. Okay, so in talking about that, there is so much character development in this. I think that's why this show is so why it received
Mhm.
Emmy nominations. And I do want to point out the Emmy nominations are for season 2
Mhm.
because of the timing of how everything came out. So these nominations are not
Mhm.
due to season 3. It's for season 2. So just for people to know that. So let's talk about the characters a little bit here. And I already mentioned that I have a favorite, and I have a feeling it maybe one of your favorites. And that is with Tina in it. We saw Tina throughout the season, but really there was one episode that concentrated on her
Mhm.
journey. And what did you think about Tina and what's happening with her? What happened to her previous to coming to the beef and the bear?
Yeah. So I thought, yeah, I thought it was really. She's a character we didn't know a whole lot about, but to me, she was kind of like she's got a story there. Let are we ever going to, because a lot of times we don't hear the stories, So I was very glad to hear her story, and I kind of feel like I really enjoyed a lot of it because I could kind of relate to a lot of not a lot of what but certain aspects of her
Yeah.
experiences. I've, actually experienced that myself. And so it was like, wow, it was just it's always interesting to see that played out in a series or a movie or something like that because it's just very relatable. So you're a little maybe more sympathetic with that person because you're like, yeah, I remember that feeling or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So no, I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved seeing her backstory, and I really loved seeing her with John Bernthal. I love that. I just we'll talk about him more, but I just feel like he just does such
Yeah.
a wonderful job. But I really enjoyed seeing how she came into the family. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was such a great episode. I loved seeing her journey. It's interesting because that happens to people all the time. People
Hmm.
have these jobs they're committed to. They think everything is going great and you're just making it, but making it enough. Like you're more than just making it because when they had their job, they felt good and her husband felt as though he was going to get that promotion and
Hmm.
she's thinking, "Oh, that's great. This is good. We're enjoying our lives right now." And then she gets let go
Hmm.
and she has to go through feeling like her worth, her
Hmm.
value, and that was in her job. And at one point her husband says, "Oh, I got another job." She goes, "How is it that you got two jobs and I can't get one?" And it's really detrimental to her.
Hmm.
Like it
Yeah.
really weighs on her. And to see her go to all those different places of employment and
Hmm.
can't get them to pay attention to her, can't get them to take her seriously. Oh, go apply on LinkedIn. It's also showing you a change.
Hmm.
So, things are probably online now. You don't really go in and hand in your
Hmm.
resume. And if people aren't looking, they're just workers and they're just like, oh, well, they don't want to take a resume. It's
Yeah.
almost like hands up, don't want to touch it. And she's all, here, just take my resume. And they're like, no, no, no. And then like the one where you needed a degree, it was
Hmm.
looked like it was all going forward with
Hmm.
her. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you don't have a degree. Well, we only promote within, but she's like, well, I have 15 years
Yeah.
experience. And
Hmm.
like, sorry, we can't take it. I thought, oh my gosh, all of it was so representative
Hmm.
of what happens to people. And their jobs. And so it was very, I could feel her, that lack of feeling like she's contributing, and the weight of it all, and
Mhm.
not, just going into the sandwich shop and just being really low and
Yeah.
crying there
Yeah.
while she's eating and seeing all this. I love that, and how they show the dynamic of how it was
Mhm.
before when it was a sandwich shop. So I just thought it was a really great episode, and great in showcasing Tina,
Mhm.
and also that the one who played her husband is her real life husband in real
Yeah.
life. Thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And that she is nominated currently for an Emmy, and I'm sure next year she'll be
Yeah.
nominated again after this performance. So Liza Colon Zayas.
Mhm.
So she's an excellent actress. And
Mhm.
it's funny because in the first season, I didn't know if I liked her. I thought she
Okay.
was so tough
Yeah.
on Carmi, and I thought, "Oh, I don't
Mhm.
know about you." Of course, they
Mhm.
all kind of were tough
Yeah.
because here's a new person coming in trying to change things. But or I think she was tough on Sydney too, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However it was, she was tough
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
whoever,
Yeah.
but she warmed up now, and so, and then now we're seeing her develop
Mhm.
in her skills, which
Yeah.
is very cool to see too. Okay, what about Carmi? Carmi, or Carmi and Sydney, who do you wanna talk about?
Um, well, Carmi's kind of ticking me off. I'm getting,
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
I'm just getting
Tell
like,
me, why is
you
it
know,
ticking you off?
he's just got this group of phenomenally talented, devoted people who are either waiting with bated breath to, to do whatever he wants to do, what his vision is to help make his dream come true. And he's like, new recipe, new recipe. It's just like, oh my gosh. It's that thing where he continues to repeat the same
Ah,
thing with the hopes of a new outcome. And it's like, this is
crazy. Yeah.
exactly that's the
Insane
definition, exactly,
insanity. Yeah,
definition
yeah,
of insanity. So I just feel like, and I understand, we have learned a lot about him with his backstory and things. So
yeah,
it's putting all these, it's like this puzzle coming together, explaining who he is, and what made him. And so I understand that, but it's still just frustrating when you've got your, Sydney, and you've got Marcus, and you've got, even Richie. Everybody has their place to contribute, but he is so laser focused on what he is, like tunnel vision, and he's not looking at everything else that's going on. I mean, they bring the computer in to tell him this isn't working. You are spending too much money on butter. You're spending too much money on these things, and he's just like, non-negotiables, non-negotiables. And so he's just ticking me off.
okay, I can see your point about the other chefs and thing, but I do see where we see his past,
Mhm.
like you said, and why he's conditioned this way, what it takes to be the best chef.
Mhm.
All these little things come into play. I will say about the butter, now I don't know, but I almost think the butter was just because of money. But sometimes if you want to give the best, you got to use the
Mhm.
best butter to
Yeah.
present the best food.
Yeah.
So I sometimes you just got to have it. Sometimes you just got to do it. So
And I get
that's
that,
what makes you, yeah,
but you're using, this is somebody else's money, and there's only so much of
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well,
And I
I
mean,
wonder, I don't know if he really knows exactly, I don't know
yeah,
where
well,
the
like I
finances
think that's
are.
why they brought
So,
the computer in to tell, to be
yeah,
this impartial person to say this isn't working, this isn't
right.
working, but he's not listening
Yeah,
to anybody.
yeah,
And that's the part that it's just so frustrating, because he's got this just pool of talent ready to do his bidding. They'll do
yeah,
whatever he tells them. I mean, and then he brushes aside Sydney's ideas. He's just ignoring
yeah,
everything, and she's got a lot to contribute. I mean, he obviously,
yeah.
she does, because he wouldn't be wanting her to partner with them,
Yes.
and everything. So anyway, and I
Yeah.
mean, I love him. I like, I think he does a wonderful job as the character. He does such a good
Yeah.
job, but he's just, yeah, man, he's just getting on my nerves.
I I do appreciate Carmen. Yeah, you're right. You're
Mhm.
right. He is stuck and laser focused on what he wants, and he just wants to do, he's got that guiding light, and that's
Mhm.
all that he's trying to get to, and not realizing how it's affecting the other
Mhm.
people in his life,
Yeah.
and how it's pushing them or whatever it is. But I had mentioned earlier about the precision of everything that he was doing and the appreciation that I have just to see him shucking peas or cutting whatever it was he was
Mhm.
cutting, so such precision, and getting the tweezers and
Mhm.
putting, everything on so delicately. I was like, and then how he has to clean everything. He's
Mhm.
cleaning everything in the ovens, and I'm like, don't come into my kitchen, okay?
Yeah.
I just make sure it's all clean on top. But I don't know, he's given me inspiration, to be honest, as far as how well he does things. So, yeah, it'll be interesting, but, his relationship with Sydney is going to
Mhm.
be affected most definitely, because we do see her contemplating
Mhm.
whether she's going to sign this agreement to be his partner, or if she's going to take that new position where she
Mhm.
takes more, gets more money, and I think has more agency of
Mhm.
what she can do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting what she decides to do
Mhm.
after we get to the next season. I wasn't sure if this was part of season and there's going to be another half of the season, but I have a feeling it's just going to be season 4, the
Mhm.
next
Yeah, I
season.
think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And people had talked about, and I didn't see this, but a lot of people really wanted Carmi and Sydney to be
Yeah.
together, to
See, I
be a
didn't
couple.
yeah, I didn't
I
see
didn't
I just
see that, and
so
I
I
don't
started
know
reading it,
that
I
I
was
would.
like, "Oh, I
Yeah,
never once thought of that."
no, but I guess it's out there
Yeah.
and people,
But
but although I think at this season people are, "Okay, this probably
well,
isn't
I think the
happening."
creators have said it's not happening. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I read an article where the creators have said that's not
yeah,
gonna happen, so but
but people were
yeah.
wanting
Oh,
it.
yeah, they were.
I just think it's because there's a man and a woman in
Yeah,
a kitchen. This is what
yeah.
you think is gonna happen. I didn't really see it. They seem more like partners
Mhm.
in work,
Mhm.
or brother and
Yeah,
sister,
yeah.
whatever,
Mhm.
So I see it more in that way. But we did see Chef Luca come back,
Mhm.
and that could be a potential. And I like him. I
I do
like him as
too.
an actor. I like him in here.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking
Yeah.
that would be interesting. I
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if he, becomes more a part of the series, or how
Mhm.
that happens. So let's talk about Sugar.
Mhm.
And what do you think about Sugar this season?
I've enjoyed again getting to know more about her too, and seeing, her and trying to handle being pregnant, very pregnant, and doing these
Yeah,
things, these jobs she should not be doing on her own,
I know.
and
Yeah.
all this. But as a mother, as a business owner, I understand what she's like. I just got to do it myself, because it's got to get done right. Someone's got to do it, so you do, you
Yeah.
just do your thing. But I thought that her episode was so good. I really enjoyed seeing that dynamic between her and her mom, where we got to learn more about all that goes on. There's always this tension between her and her mother, and so we got to learn about that and why. And she,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of what she told her mother did not. She didn't understand. Like that realization never came to her. She had to hear it from her daughter to understand why things are the way they are between them. And it was one of those things where she did not want her mother there in that labor room with
I
her, but she was
know.
literally the only one that answered the phone. She's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, almost like I'll do this by myself. But I did enjoy the tender moments, and like when she was giving birth, and it was just neat to see Jamie Lee Curtis in you know this role. We see her in all kinds of different roles, but this was good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, man, she is phenomenal.
Hmm.
She's always been good. She's always been
Hmm.
this actress, but I would say in her later years now,
Hmm.
wow, she
Yeah.
is just blowing me away with her Oscar win.
Yeah.
And that was just fabulous, for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was so well deserved. She was like perfection as
Right.
this crazy IRS agent. Is just the fingers and just all of that stuff is just so bizarre. And then this role,
Hmm.
and she's just in a other movies I see them that they're coming out, and
Hmm.
she's just phenomenal. She's just really hitting her stride, and
Mhm.
here she is, a mature, actress that I love. I love
Yeah.
to see it for her, and this role is not easy,
Mm-mm.
and she's doing such a good job. And yes, I thought it was so heartbreaking that your daughter doesn't want you there for the birth of her child, and that she's wants anybody
Mhm.
else but you to be there. And but then they are forced together, which I thought that was pretty good
Yeah.
writing to do that,
Mhm.
and to have these moments. Now I will tell you, is it an episode that I would watch over and over again? Probably not,
Yeah.
because it can't kind of can be heavy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
childbirth and all of that.
Mhm.
But as far as the performances and what it meant for their relationships and how heartbreaking it was, I thought it was really important
Mhm.
to see all of this. So I thought it was good in that regard. And then Richie is he's, I don't know why, but he's funny, even
Yeah.
though it's not meant to be super funny. He's just so good. They
Yeah.
all are so good, especially, well, all of them. But I love the looks that Richie gives, that Carmi gives. They don't even have to talk, even though they're yelling at each other most of the time. But there are times that they just give each other these looks that are
Mhm.
just so filled with, what they are thinking or saying. But he's going through things himself. So
Mhm.
what do you
Yeah.
think about Richie in general?
I'm enjoying his, this different, that we're seeing this little bit of different side. When we first met him, he was just all angry and confrontational. I mean, he's still confrontational, but like it was in
Yeah.
a worse way, I guess, to begin. So this has been interesting, and then to get to see, more of his, father side of him, his, playing that ex-husband role, which is tough when your ex is getting married. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff he's dealing with, and the only thing I I kind of feel like what he went away to, how many days did he go away to that restaurant? It was like not that many days to that Michelin
Yeah.
rated whatever it was, and
Yes.
then he comes back this completely different person. So I feel like
Well,
there's, well, no, I get it, but 4 days or
yeah.
whatever it was, I get it, but I feel like it's a facade. I feel like we're gonna see him crack some. I mean, like I feel like there's something coming with his character just because
Hmm.
he's
Okay.
got all this external stuff outside of the restaurant going on that it's heavy. That's heavy stuff because divorce and a child you're trying to figure out, and then this new man's coming in, and it's a nice man. It's not like he can even be like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's a jerk. He's a nice guy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all. That's
Yeah.
always kind of hard because you can't even be like, I hate him, but because there's
Yeah.
he's all right. He's all right guy. So I just feel like it's all gonna kind of, something's gonna happen with him just because I feel like for where he was before he went to the restaurant, 4 days is not long enough to change someone into this person. And he's doing great, and he's doing his job and he's really giving it his all. But he's got this personal stuff here. He's got Carmi over here, and
Yeah.
then just the chaos of the night. It's just working in a restaurant is not easy. It's just whatever
No.
role you are in. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I that's just a little thing I'm kind of wondering
Yeah.
if
True.
we're gonna
Yeah.
see something pretty crazy happen with him.
Well, the only thing I can say about his change was that I think it was forks was
Mhm.
the episode, because
Yeah.
he was cleaning forks and he gets pissed off and he's all like, "Why the heck am I cleaning forks? What does this matter?" And then that guy takes him out and tells him why it's so important,
Mhm.
and how people go to restaurants to celebrate all kinds of things, or weddings, or having a baby, or retirement, or anniversary, or just celebrations, or anything. And people come for that one moment, that one celebration or experience. And he's all, and we're there to give it to them, and we're there to serve them, and we're there to lift them. I don't even know all the wordings, but that's what I got from it. And I think that's what is his perspective changed to, oh, I'm not just cleaning forks, I'm helping in providing this experience that is life changing for,
Mhm.
or for some people, because people eat together. And that's partially why I like to cook when I do. It's usually my family nights
Mhm.
or dinner. It's when my family or my family and friends come together. And I don't know, there's just something special about eating over a meal, and I
Mhm.
love to go out and eat when we're
Yeah.
celebrating, so I understand that. So I think anyway that is what changed his
Mhm.
perspective at the time, but you're right, it's only 4 days. It wasn't like Carmi who had spent
Yeah.
years, in that world
Mhm.
and why he is the person that he is, but sometimes people get a
Mhm.
revelation, I suppose, but
Mhm.
you're right, he is carrying a lot of weight. And if I heard this right, I'm not sure, but I think when he's talking with Sugar about parenting, because they both are sharing some information with
Mhm.
each other, and I thought he said, like, should I step away in
Mhm.
being a dad so I don't confuse my daughter? And I'm thinking, don't do it, don't
Yeah.
do
No,
it, don't
no,
do it.
no.
No matter what you think, all you can do is embrace that
Mhm.
dad and include everybody. That's the best thing you can do for your kid, but please don't step away and
Yeah.
don't ever
Mhm.
think that she won't need you. Just
Mhm.
don't do that. Make that mistake because she definitely needs you.
Mhm.
So, and then that his ex-wife tells him that he must come to the wedding, that she's expecting him to. Like, you're my person. You
Yeah.
have to come.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of sweet. So I'm hoping
Mhm.
that he's okay with all of that and can move forward. But it's interesting to see all of these different characters and what they're going through, because all of us, everybody, we all have our work lives
Mhm.
and we act a certain way, but we also have things happening in our home lives, and we
Mhm.
never know what's happening with
Oh,
everybody.
yeah.
And that's why when you're out in life, when you're out on the road, when you're at the grocery store, when you're at a restaurant, you got to be nicer. You got to be kinder and have grace with people, because you have no idea what is going on in their
Mhm.
personal lives. You have no clue. People pass away, people have trauma in their lives. There's so much happening. So, I don't know, this the show just gives us so much, and like
Yeah.
I said, all these layers of people.
Did you see that there was I didn't. I just briefly read a little bit about it, but there was a scene. I think he was on the phone. I'm pretty sure Richie was on the phone, and in one flash he has his wedding ring on, and then the next time he doesn't have it on, and maybe came back on it or something. I didn't read it enough. I should have looked a little more detailed. But they were wondering if it was some kind of symbolism or if it was just an accident. But people were like speculating that it was like him coming to terms, like that it was some symbolism kind of things,
Mm,
him coming to terms
yeah.
with her getting remarried and stuff. So I need to read some more about that because I just saw like a headline kind of thing and read a little blurb, but it was interesting because I didn't notice it, but I guess it was, Twitter people, everyone noticed it, were posting on there and kind of trying to, dissect it to see if it meant
Yeah.
more, because it's
Yeah,
always
what
fun
it
for them.
meant.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, or if it was just oops,
Hmm.
that's just what happened.
Well, so many people do have, you know, uh, they miss certain
Yeah.
things, but it feels like with this show,
Mhm.
it almost seems
Deliberate.
like they probably
Mhm.
wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, actually, we're going into symbolism and themes, unless you have any other characters you want to bring up.
Well, I wanted to bring up John Bernthal just again, just because I just feel like I know he doesn't have a lot of screen time, but he
Yeah.
is the reason all of this is happening. All these things that are happening are because it was his restaurant. He ended his life. All this stuff happened because of him, and so I love seeing these flashbacks with him and like
I do
him with Tina
too.
and stuff, because that was
Yeah.
interesting to see that dynamic and how he helped her when she needed that help, and so I'm sure
Yeah.
that was her initial, that's why she was so angry at the beginning, because he was
Yeah.
her man, he took care of her,
Yeah.
when she needed that he was there, listened, and he gave her a job and he did all these things, so things like that. But I just feel like every time he is on, every time he's on screen, he's again very short, brief little things, but this, I just feel like this is some of John Bernthal's best work. I mean, he's good in almost everything he's in. I mean,
Yes.
he's a great
Yes.
actor, but I just
Yeah.
love the depth he gives to this character. So yeah, I just wanted to mention him briefly, just because I just have really, really enjoyed his scenes and just the story that we're learning.
I do too. I really, really do. And even with Carmi,
Mhm.
when he's with Jeremy Allen White in this, they have scenes together
Mhm.
too, which kind of segues into some of the
Mhm.
symbolism and the themes, because it's funerals.
Mhm.
And even though we didn't, this isn't about his brother's funeral,
Mhm.
it still weighs on him, because you see a lot of flashbacks
Mhm.
with his brother And so you know that is on
Oh,
him.
yeah.
That is on
Mhm.
him so much. And then we also see the funeral of the pastry chef. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. He's
Marcus.
even nominated. Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we even see Marcus's mom's
Mhm.
that funeral and how they're all there for him
Mhm.
and how Carmi talks about it saying, "I know,
Yeah.
what you're going
Mhm.
through." So but still he understands his grief, so he is there for him.
Mhm.
So I love that they do show that. And also they basically call the finale the funeral
Mhm.
of this
Yeah.
restaurant that everybody gathers to.
Mhm.
So we see sort of that theme in there.
Mhm.
Did you see any other themes or symbolism that you wanted to
I like
bring up?
the support that they give each other. You know, you've mentioned, you know,
Yeah,
we've seen it throughout all different kinds of levels, but it's just, you know, it shows, you know, that even despite their differences, besides arguments that happen, whatever, they are truly there for one another, and are
yeah,
there to support them, like you said, at the funeral, or, you know, the different things. And so it's just neat to see, because, you know, I've worked in several restaurants, I've owned a restaurant, so I know what those, you just develop, they become an extended family. And it's, you know, you don't always get along, you don't always agree, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm there for
yeah.
you, I'll do that. So I love seeing, because that's, again, like you were talking about, how, yeah, these are actors portraying this restaurant, but it's real behind the scenes. I mean, this is how things
Yeah.
happen in this industry. And so seeing that again, it's just another real part of that lifestyle, and of, you know, owning a restaurant, working for, you know, working in a restaurant and things. So I love that, all the
Mhm.
support that we keep seeing between them.
Well, and you saying that reminds me of there are other jobs, right? But a lot of other jobs are independent
Mhm.
of sure, you come together at some portion of your job, right? But a
Mhm.
lot of times you can go back to your desk
Yeah.
or go back
Mhm.
to your department or your table or
Mhm.
whatever it is. But when you work at a restaurant, you really have to work
Mhm.
together. You're all together in this one
Mhm.
little area, and everything depends on the other person and
Mhm.
how it so you're with these people. So it
Mhm.
is your family. It really truly is your family that you're with during this. So they are there to support each other, which is great,
Mhm.
to be there together. You know, I we didn't even talk about this so much, but it's regarding Carmi with oh my gosh, Claire, how it ended
Mhm.
last
The end of
the
the season.
finale of the
Mhm.
season 2, how he basically told her being with her kind of is a waste of time, even though he didn't mean to tell her that. He was
Yeah.
thought he was talking to Tina, or I
Mhm.
believe, and he says that, and of course she goes away and they haven't talked since. So he's dealing kind of with that too,
Mhm.
because she's in a lot of his flashbacks
Yeah.
also. So, that happens there too.
Mhm.
And also you see them asking him about her, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, what happened
Yeah.
there? Are you gonna try and apologize or,
Yeah.
see what happens there?" So yeah, that a lot of support. I did want to bring up the phrases that they say in this because of course, yes, chef, you hear that
Yeah.
all over the place. But they have the sign every second counts, hands. I mean, you hear hand there was an episode, I don't know if they concentrated on this, but everything was hands,
Hands. Yeah.
hands, 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 doors, doors,
Yeah.
hands, doors. I'm like, "Oh my god." And it's so abrupt, and then you hear crashing of plates or whatever it
Yeah.
might be, or people yelling at each other. It's just so and swearing. Oh my gosh. I don't know that there's another show that swears this much because it's
No,
left and right and everybody's swearing.
everybody
It's
is.
just I
Yeah.
think it's just in that whole world of that.
Mhm.
And I just think it adds humor at some point. Some
Mhm.
parts it is very stressful, but it's just yet more intense layers that are there. And also you had mentioned earlier about the non-negotiables
Mhm.
that Carmi is pushing because he wants this perfection to be there and he has all these and they're all that one time when they're all reading it or when Sydney's reading it
Mhm.
and then Richie comes in and they're all kind of snarky like
Yeah.
reading it and
Like, what
he's
are
all
you
yeah
here?
non-negotiables and then Richie comes up with a non-negotiable that he wants to add in there. And so, yeah, it's good. That's where the comedy, and
Yeah.
it's not funny. It's not like laugh out
Yeah.
loud, ha ha funny. It's just this.
There is a underlying
undercurrent
humor, yeah.
that makes you just laugh because he has these strict standards,
Mhm.
yet he still wants everybody to be creative. And it's like, how are you going to be creative when you've got these standards? You're not free to explore or make or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it's a struggle for balance for
Mhm.
sure. All right. Was there anything else before we move
I
on?
don't think so.
I know there's a lot of little things in here. So any other tidbits or thoughts you have on this season?
A lot of times like in the last season, I really enjoyed all the cameos and things, but this season, the whole John Cena thing in the how do you say that last name?
Isn't it facts? I
Is it
think.
facts? Okay, that group. I'm like, what? I just thought it was so. I mean, I understand put him in there, but it just that was odd to me. It didn't fit. He was just. I don't know. Sometimes those brothers are kind of annoying, but they're pretty funny. They're kind of
Yeah.
whatever. But then
Yeah.
to put John Cena in that mix, I thought that was just weird. It just to me didn't flow well. It just didn't. It was like, what am I watching? So I don't know. John Cena's great. There's nothing against him, but it's just it put him somewhere else because that just to me didn't fit. I don't know. So I just thought that was odd.
That actually, well, that was funny because I'm thinking John Cena's in everything.
Yeah.
He pops up everywhere. So I thought that was quite funny
Yeah.
because he's always in everything. And those brothers, they're annoying, but then sometimes they're brilliant, to
Yeah.
be honest. Like,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is not what they're saying, but their acting is
Hmm.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Like the fact that
Timing and stuff.
Mattinson is really a chef and now he's doing this role. I'm like, what? And I'm sorry, but I don't know the other actor's
I
name,
know
but
I
they're
can't think of
just they're back and forth. I feel like they're real. Like
yeah.
I feel like someone just put the camera on them, and I know it's not true. I know that they're acting, but I feel like somebody put the camera on them and they just go and go and go. They're actually very, very good. The whole thing about, oh, I'm going to put up the critics up there so we know when they come in, and then asking about when they're out going through the garbage and
Yeah.
asking Carmi if he apologized to Claire. I don't know. Yes, they can be annoying, but if they weren't there, I don't know.
No,
They're
I like that. I mean,
they're
it's just yeah,
hilarious.
they're
Yeah.
very funny. They are yeah, like you said, they just have good chemistry. But then they threw
Yeah.
in John Cena, and I'm like, what's
Yeah.
happening here? It was just odd. I mean, I know they think they could have used him better somewhere else, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We
that was
also saw Josh Harnett
yeah, that was
as
fun to see.
Frank.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's
He's
kind of
good.
fun when you see these other Frank is who is marrying Richie's ex-wife.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you see him
But
in there.
yeah,
And
I
of
like
course now he's going to be in that new movie where he's a serial killer.
yes.
M. Night Shyamalan in Trap or whatever that is. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, he looks so okay. Wait, this is totally off, but I'm going to bring it up. I saw a trailer at the movies that has Hugh Grant as, did you see this? As a weird horror crazy thing. It's these two girls that are knocking at the door. They're some sort of religious, promoting like religion. And they go to his house and he's dressed up in a sweater. I'm sorry, this is so off, but I have to share this with you. He's wearing the sweater and they're like, he's all, come on in. And then they're like, well, we can't come in unless there's a female in the house. He goes, yeah, my wife is here. Yeah, right. And they go in, the door locks, and you're like, holy crap. It looks so creepy.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna tell you anymore. You have to see it, look it
It's
up,
called
but it looks
the Heretic, isn't it? Is that the one?
maybe.
It's an A24 movie.
Yeah,
It's the one I'm
probably.
thinking of, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Woo!
I know.
Whoa. Okay. Sorry, but
No,
that made me think Josh Harnett playing a serial killer led me
mhm.
to Hugh Grant
It
playing
fit
this
right in.
crazy guy. But yeah, so I still do love the celebrity people.
Yeah,
And
they're
there's
fun.
more. There's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of lot of
Mhm,
chefs that
mhm.
were in this.
Yeah, which I
A
didn't like, a lot
lot.
of them I didn't know who they were, so I remember Googling trying to figure out who they all are and things, so but
Yeah.
that was another thing I liked too was Sydney and Luca. It was like they were hosting this, like, talk show with these chefs and asking them all the I loved
Yeah.
that whole like just because the conversations were just going all around the room and things, but it was like they were hosting this group and questioning them, and so I thought that was
Yeah.
a really fun little segment.
Okay. So I missed something a long time ago that I need to bring up now. And that was when we were talking about Carmi. I did not talk about his confrontation
Oh,
with
with
Chef Fields that came up in the finale. And oh, whoa,
that
whoa,
was
whoa,
nuts.
whoa. Joel McHale plays this chef to perfection as being the biggest egotistical jerk of a chef. I mean, just he's got that look and he
Mhm,
kind of is overpowering Jeremy Allen White and like Carmi's it's just taking so much for
mhm.
him to muster what he wants to say. And when he tells them all this stuff, and then he says, I think about you more than I should. And then he says back to him, "Well, I don't think about you at all." I'm like, "Oh, man.
I know it. That was so
What?
brutal.
Wow."
Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah. I got him now too. Oh my gosh. It was like that guy knew how to get to
Oh,
him.
he knew exactly
And
what to say.
it's probably reality. He
Mhm,
probably
oh,
doesn't give a second thought
mhm,
about how he treats people. And then he tries to take credit. He's all, but look at the chef. When you first came, you were just mediocre. And look how you left. And look where you're at now. Like, basically, give me the
mhm,
credit because I was successful in helping create you or help make
yeah.
you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. That reminded me of the movie Whiplash that I
Oh,
absolutely
I love
love.
that movie. Oh, it's so good. It's hard to
Yes.
watch, but it's so dang good.
Yes, but it reminded me of that
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
the same thing. How this teacher is taking credit for making such a great drummer
Mhm,
out of Miles Teller is
yeah,
the character, best, greatest jazz drummer, and
mhm,
it's like, well, where does that line cross? Like, when is this abusive nature and lessons and how you treat people, it becomes trauma and this abuse, where does that come? I understand pushing people to do their best, but
yeah.
there is a line. There
Yeah,
is
for sure.
definitely a line. So, whoa, that was a big, big moment in the season finale
Yeah, yeah, for
there.
sure. Yeah, that was.
Did you have any other thoughts
I
that
don't
you
think
wanted to
so.
bring up?
I don't think so.
Okay. We are going to get to, and the award goes to. So, Renee, I would love to know what was your favorite quote, character, or moment?
So it's kind of a quote and moment kind of together. So when it goes back to sugar. So when computer mentions Marcus and whether they need a pastry chef or not, and she tells him that she will murder him if he brings that up again. I just loved that because she was going to defend Marcus. You're like, leave him alone.
Yeah.
He's just lost his mom. He's amazing at what he does. Don't mess with Marcus. And she had these pregnancy hormones going, driving her insane.
Yeah.
I just love
Yeah.
that little tiny scene. And he understood, and so I loved that so much.
That's a great moment. Great moment. So, my favorite moment is something that you had mentioned already before, and that is John Bernthal and Tina's
Mhm,
conversation right when he's
mhm,
offering her the job. Because I mean, of course, we all know because we're like, oh, she's there and he's talking to her.
yeah.
Just that whole scene, I loved it.
Mhm,
That's my favorite part. And to be honest, Carmi, I like anything with Carmi in it. So
mhm.
he's always my favorite. But the fact that he wasn't even in this part,
Yeah.
that is my favorite part, goes to show you the John Bernthal that you were mentioning and also Tina. But there was just something about that. I think it just revealed so much about the family,
Mhm,
that and just the type of person he was. And it made me think, what happened that he felt the need that he couldn't live any longer? What was it? What shifted in him? Because he's so giving, and I don't know, it's
mhm,
just really sad because this happens to so many people. And of course, I always relate to how it relates to other people and
mhm,
how this happens to other people. And so I just couldn't help but think about that. But I just thought it was just a great gesture for
mhm.
him to do that for her. And in turn, it's helping him too.
Yeah, yeah.
For her coming to work there, they're helping each other, but it's just another relationship, and it's a sweet moment between them, and she's just so happy when she gets offered that job, and just again, John Bernthal being in it. So I just thought that was
Yeah,
great. I also did like Carmi and uh, standing up to Chef
yeah,
Fields too. That
yeah.
was a
That
good
was
moment.
awesome.
So at the very end, all of this
Mhm,
whole season is building up to this review.
mhm.
And we see it throughout because everybody's wondering when they're going to come. And then all of a sudden they get Sugar gets a phone call saying, oh, they're coming to take pictures. Take pictures. Oh my God, they've been here already. And then, Richie's trying to get information out of the photographer, like, oh, would they say, I don't know anything. I don't know anything, but you have the duck. The duck? How do you know it's a duck? That's all this information. So they know it's out there. They know it's going to come out. And so at the very end, you see Carmi walking home and he gets all these messages on his phone and he clicks apparently on it. And at the same time, I didn't mention also Uncle, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Uncle, is it Mickey? Is it Uncle? No, Jimmy, Uncle Jimmy. But we see he's viewing the review and we just see words.
Yeah,
And the words, some
and
of them are
they're all
positive,
over.
some of them are not. So it's like, well, what is it? Because majority of the words seem to be pretty optimistic or good, but then there was like
Mhm.
sloppy, and then there was another word I can't remember.
Yeah, there
So
were. Yeah, it was kind of all over the place.
yeah, so you're like, what does he say? And of course, it ends with him cussing. It
Yeah,
ends with him cussing. So I don't know. It made it seem like, oh, maybe it wasn't so good. Of course, he could have been reacting to something else. It just
yeah,
looked like that. I don't know. What do you think?
yeah. I hate that they did that as the cliffhanger because to me it was just like the whole season was building to that, and I understand it's TV, they got to keep people excited, whatever. But it just seemed a little unnecessary. But I yeah, I mean, honestly, I think by the words we saw, it could go either way because several things could have been not okay, whatever. But then the sloppy, the whatever other things, they could have been
Yeah,
really the really bad things. So yeah,
yeah,
I just feel like I really I feel like I don't have a clue either way how that's going to go. So it will
yeah.
be exciting to learn.
Also, the money that I know is a big issue going
Yeah.
in this next season will be because Uncle Jimmy has less money to give than he did before. It's,
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
a lot of money being spent. He had said, from what I gather, that if the review doesn't come back positive, that's another
A blow to it.
reason this may not survive. But whether there's a good review or a bad review, it he still doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
So something's gonna have to
Gotta.
shift or change here,
Mhm.
which is hard, right? It's gonna be hard. And then also the other cliffhanger is Sydney.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you have any opinion as to what I
I
think
think
she's
she'll
gonna
stay.
stay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
she'll
she'll
stay because
stay.
she, she's loyal to Carmi regardless of their disagreements, and that she is loyal to him. And I think she believes in what he believes in. It's just she's not really liking how he's getting there or trying to get there at the moment.
Yeah,
And I feel like, the review, maybe that's what's going to make her, regardless of what it says, I think that might weigh into her decision then.
yeah,
Whether if it's good, well, I should stay with this group, or if it's bad, oh, he needs me. And so, I kind of feel like
yeah,
either way, she may feel like she needs to, because they do have, I mean, they have a lot of good rapport together. They work well together. They do, there's a lot going for her there, even though the other is more pay, more whatever. But that doesn't always
yeah,
mean it's good. It doesn't, she's got a good thing going, though right now Carmi's kind of in a kind of crazy
yeah.
place. But yeah, so that's my opinion. I think she'll stay.
I think she'll stay. I think she'll stay because, like you said, she's loyal, committed. She does have this relationship, plus all the other people that are there
Yeah.
and that she supports and helps. So I think she'll stay. She could use this as leverage
Hmm.
to get maybe more of what she wants, or have him change his non-negotiables, or
Yeah.
have a menu that's not fluctuating as much. I don't know, but I think that she could get him to, she could sway him if she
Yeah.
were to bring it up. But then they could throw in a loop and a
Mhm.
twist and just have her leave for a year or
Mhm.
so, right? I
Yeah.
don't know. And how does
Like
he get
the
along
competing
without her?
ships. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, that could
Mhm.
be.
Yeah,
It
'cause
could very well be.
yeah,
So
it'd make a
hard to
very
say.
interesting dynamic for the
Yes,
series, absolutely. So,
exactly.
yeah, so
Exactly. So,
I wouldn't be
whew,
opposed to that. I think it would make a good story. So
yeah,
I think either way it's going to be really good.
yeah, I agree. Whew, all right. Season 3, you gave us a lot to think about. You gave us a lot to learn about these characters, and just these different layers, and where everybody's going to go from here. All of the characters, they're on their own journey doing different things. So it'll be really interesting to see. So can't wait for season 4. I don't know how long it'll be, but
I know some of these
we'll
series are
see.
taking way too long to come out. Like Bridgerton is 2 years. I'm like, why is it
Wow.
2 years?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I don't obviously do this for a living. I don't know what all goes into this, but it hasn't
Yeah.
taken this long before. So I just am like, what's going on? They've had
Yeah.
COVID in there, they've had the strikes in there, and they still have been able to get out this stuff. And now they have none of that. And it's like, why
Right.
are we, why is it taking
Right.
so long? But it's just because I want to see what's going on in these, I watch these and
Well, I hope it's sooner than later.
yeah.
Now, mind you, with Bridgerton, there's a lot of set stuff and a
But
lot of
the other
that.
seasons didn't take that long. So
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
the thing.
So
So anyway, but yeah, I mean,
hopefully,
it'll be good. I know
maybe
it'll be good.
contracts, maybe
Yeah,
people in their
it's yeah, and
contracts.
yeah, it
I,
is really hard to say. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I really hope that this one doesn't take quite so
I
long.
know. Yeah,
So
for sure.
we'll see. All right. I think that we are going to end this podcast episode, and we're going to give you our TV and movie recommendations in a second podcast episode. So I'll release it a few days later. So please look for that, because we do have great TV and movie recommendations for you. But I want to thank Renee for being here to talk about The Bear. Thank you, Renee.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's always fun.
I love our conversations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And friends out there, thank you for joining us. We are so grateful that you joined us, and we hope something that we said resonated with you, gave you a smile, gave you some inspiration. Please subscribe to Screens and Focus at screensandfocus.com, and please share this podcast with a friend. We want to remind you to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.